How have countries like Cuba and Vietnam adapted their socialist systems in recent years? If you're curious about how countries like Cuba and Vietnam have been adjusting their socialist systems, you're in the right place. Let's take a closer look at the changes they've made. In Cuba, the socialist system has been facing significant challenges. Cuba's economy has been heavily state-controlled, similar to the old Soviet-style command economy. However, in recent years, Cuba has started to introduce some market-oriented reforms, albeit slowly. For instance, the number of self-employed workers in Cuba has more than tripled since the start of these reforms, reaching around 580,000 workers. Despite this, the government has been cautious, freezing licenses for certain activities due to concerns about rising inequality and loss of state control. Vietnam, on the other hand, has taken a more aggressive approach to economic reforms. In the 1980s, Vietnam introduced the Đôi Mới renewal policy, which transitioned the country from a centralized, state-controlled economy to a market-oriented one. This involved opening up to foreign trade, attracting foreign direct investment, and encouraging private sector growth. As a result, Vietnam has seen rapid economic growth, lifting around 30 million people out of poverty over 2 decades. Vietnam's General Secretary Nguyen Vu Trong has emphasized the importance of developing a market economy within a socialist framework. He believes that a market economy, when managed correctly, can support socialist goals without undermining them. This approach has led to significant economic growth and improved living standards in Vietnam. The country has become one of the most dynamic economies in Southeast Asia, with a strong focus on digital transformation, high-value manufacturing, and sustainable development. In contrast, Cuba's reforms have been more gradual and have faced several setbacks. The country has struggled with internal state controls and the external U.S. trade embargo, which has hindered its economic progress. While Cuba aims to avoid the shock therapy that rapid reforms can bring, its economic growth has been slower compared to Vietnam's. The difference in approach between Cuba and Vietnam is also reflected in their economic structures. Vietnam's socialist-oriented market economy allows for a mix of state and private enterprises, with the state regulating the economy to ensure it aligns with socialist principles. This model has led to high economic growth rates and improved social security in Vietnam. In Cuba, the central plan model dominates, with large state enterprises playing a major role, but this has led to economic crises and erosion of previous social achievements. In summary, while both Cuba and Vietnam are adapting their socialist systems, Vietnam's more comprehensive and market-oriented reforms have led to faster economic growth and improved living standards. Cuba, however, is taking a more cautious approach, balancing market reforms with the need to maintain state control and address social inequalities.